Retro Rob's gaming videos.
Hey, Rob here, and looky what came in the mail for me. It's a Black Retron 5. I've been waiting for months for this thing. I pre-ordered it, and apparently the black one uh, was in very short supply, and I did not get one until just now. The good news is I only paid $100 for it, whereas people are now paying like $200 to $250 for a black one now, so I'm not feeling too bad. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I urge you, if you really want to blow by blow on the Retron 5, there's this guy, and I'm going to link him up here, called Crow. He really does a great job of covering everything on the Retron 5. Goes in. I usually go into heavy depth, but he did such a good job on it. I just don't need to do it. I am, however, going to do a little bit of an overview, and I'm going to unbox it for vanity's sake. Yeah. Bet you think this video is about you, don't you? Like 3 people got that joke. But anyway, the Retron 5 comes in like a huge box. Look at the size of this thing. I am not like a small person. This is like a big box. Here's the front. Here's the sides. I really like the box design from Hyperkin. Other boxes really have nice designs on them, but the 5 just being so big, it does. There we go. There's the back. And the other sides are just basically say Retron 5 on them. Believe it or not, I don't have a lot of Nintendo stuff. That's one of the reasons why I bought this. I tend to collect the weird, like Neo Geo stuff, TurboGrafx. I'm not like a snobby collector. It's just that I don't have a whole lot of room around the house. Well, I don't know. I got a lot of junk, but if I collect Nintendo, it's gonna like add another third to my junk. And I really like to keep things neat because I'm kind of a neat freak. And this resolves some of the problems of having some of the 16-bit era systems around. So this runs Sega Genesis. It runs original NES, Famicom. The Japanese version of the NES, Super NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, all that jazz. You probably know a lot about it already if you're watching this, but if you're not, hey, look, you just learned something. The nice thing about it is that you can use the original controllers with it, even though this system actually technically is an emulator. You really have to have the physical cartridge. You can't run it off SD, but it's still an emulation. It loads it in and emulates the system that it's pretending to be. That makes sense. I suppose you want me to unbox this thing and show you the parts. I'm always interested in what comes in the box. It's the only reason why I do unboxing videos. The manufacturer really doesn't do a very good job much of the time. I am like totally beating on this box trying to get this sticker off. Anyway, the manufacturer doesn't really do a very good job generally of telling you what actually comes with the system, so I like doing these to show you what exactly comes with the system. There, got it open. Did I open the right side? Hard to say, really. It has these nice flaps. And I tell you about the box. It's pretty reasonably hefty. Most of their boxes are, and it's got these little tabs in it. And the reason why I tell you about the boxes is because a lot of people that watch these videos are collectors and they like to keep the boxes in decent shape. And it's nice to know if you can, which looks like it's going to be an easy box to keep in decent condition. And I do keep all my boxes if I get them with the system. And I try and keep them in decent shape for when I have to resell them. Okay, so, well, Sursa 90s packaging here. And here is the Retron 5 in all of its glory. And here comes my cat. Ugh, bye, cat. Did you hear that thunk? All the bags are kind of, well, open. And here's the controller. Oh, I see what people have been saying about the controller. The D-pad feels a lot like if you've ever played with a Neo Geo controller. It has the stick of a Neo Geo controller. And they said that it was leaf switched, so I'm gonna believe them. It's a little bit sticky around the edges. You can kind of feel a clunk when you move it around. That clicking, just like a Neo Geo controller. I should pull one out. The buttons have a positive click. It has 2 top shoulder buttons. Select, start, home. Yeah, there's a menu in this system. You don't just stick the cartridge in. Yeah, it's not the most comfortable controller, but it's not bad. It's somewhere between OEM and cheap. It's not like a super cheap controller, but it doesn't have that super thick feel to it either. It doesn't feel like it'd break after a few plays or anything. I'd like to see what people are saying a few months in, whether these controllers are holding up. But they don't feel like they wouldn't hold up. There's a nice tray in the back of this. I'll show you that for holding it. And it gets charged off the system too, or any USB. Forgot to mention that. Didn't mention the USB. And here, of course, is the USB cable for charging it. That wasn't very exciting, so I figured I wouldn't show you it close up. HDMI cable, and a pretty long one. I really enjoy when they ship the HDMI cable with it. And, you know, it's nice on one of these systems, which is, you know, not the most expensive system on Earth, when they include that. So that's a nice touch. Power supply, yeah. That's your typical, man, these are a dime a dozen, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because it means if you lose your power pack, it's a 5-volt. Let's see. Oh, what do you know? It is a 5-volt. What a surprise! Yeah, these are a dime a dozen, and that's actually not a bad thing, because if you lose it, you're gonna find another one of these real quick. It's 2 amps, so 2 amps, 5 volts, easy stuff. Oh, and all your adapters for your various countries. So I guess you Europeans get the same version of this, huh? Why not? It's region free. And we're back. Sorry about that. I had some technical problems that I didn't notice until editing. There wasn't any sound on the second half of the video, so I don't know what's going on with that. Weird. Actually, I just wanted to change outfits, you know, so you could get me in more than one outfit. It's a couple days later, and I've been playing with this, so I have a few more things to say about it. Let's start with where I was going when I was so rudely interrupted. Here is the Retron 5. Power button. Along the back. Power supply plugs in there. That is where the controller plugs in for charging. It's USB, standard USB. Well, you know, mini, but still, it's USB. HDMI output, yes, it has HDMI output. On the output points, it has a scan lines option if you want to fake scan lines. Me, you know what? I lived through the 80s and 90s. I really have seen enough scan lines in my life that I really don't care. So I'm not a person who enables the scan lines, but if you like that kind of thing, you do have that option here. Actually, they have a whole lot of the filters. I'm not a real big fan of any of the filters. I just like it nice and clean and unfiltered, like my beer. SD card. This is for storing saved games mostly, and also for ROM updates. A note on the updates: you have to go into the menu and you have to write a request to this SD card. And then you put this into your computer, and when you want to download the new firmware, you have to have this file to do the update. The reason why they do that, I'm guessing, is that way they can confirm what version of firmware you're running now and what console you're running, so that you can't accidentally request the wrong firmware and brick it. I think that's actually a good idea. I wish more companies would do that kind of thing. Power. Some people have reported that updating the firmware has made their machine power up faster. I haven't found that. I still got to press that button forever for it to come up. On the top, doesn't this thing look like the most awesome toaster ever? Look at that. Ooh, 4 slices. You could do 2 slices of bread, and then you could do a couple of English muffins in there, you know? Yeah. Oh, and a little front one for a Melba toast. How cool is that? Nice. Yeah. Gotta like that. But anyway, this is for Genesis. This top one. Second one is Super Nintendo. Regular NES. Famicom. Now, you're going to point out, obviously, that Famicom and NES are technically the same thing. They are, but they take different cartridges, so they have different cartridge ports. Oh, yeah, and obviously this is the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy. Of course, it runs all, like it runs NTSC, PAL. It'll convert them for you because it's actually running an emulation, and that's a nice feature. Oh, wait, let's finish the ports before I mention the construction. This is for Genesis, NES, and Super Nintendo, and it's repeated on the other side so you can have 2 players. Also, you can mix controllers, which is a pretty cool feature. So, like if I don't have 2 NES controllers, I could use one of these and a NES controller. Same thing with the SNES. You could also, I believe, use a Genesis controller instead of a SNES controller, just to be weird. I don't know why you'd want to do it, but it can happen. So it's pretty cool that way. Also, construction. This thing is actually built really well. This is versus the controller. The controller, like I said, it's okay, but this console's actually, man, it's built like a brick. And it is Night of the Jump Cut. Sorry about doing that to you again. Got a little bit busy there and had to answer the phone. But I would like to wrap it up. I had one more thing I did want to say about games on here. I found that most of my games on the NES side worked. I haven't really tested anything else other than NES and Famicom. Archon worked before the update and didn't work after the firmware update, but that could be the cartridge. It hadn't been used in a long time, so I'm looking at that. I did clean it. It didn't seem to help. It just says that it's corrupt, but that does sound a lot to me like maybe there's just some dirt on it or something that I didn't manage to clean up. So I'll try cleaning that up again and see how it works. Another note, if you run those Chinese multi-carts do not work on here. Like those 252-in-1s, they don't work. You'll just get a garbled screen, and I know that that's not uncommon on those Chinese ones, and that you can solder a couple pins together and get it to work, but it's not really that kind of problem, because if I click on the menu, if I choose the menu, it just goes right back to the menu. So my guess is that it's not actually loading the ROMs that are on there. So don't bother with that. Also, that goes for those EverDrive cartridges. I know for a fact they don't work on there, at least as of the current revision of the software. And I've had that confirmed by a couple people. Also wanted to tell you, if you get any questions, don't be afraid to give me a holler, through Facebook. You can Twitter me at RetroRob. I am on everything as RetroRob, with the 0 as the first O. So don't be afraid to contact me and ask me questions about it. It's all sorts of fun. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you a lot for watching. Bye.